Alright guys, Ronin Man here. Hey, I was just thinking about a pretty serious topic and how it could be solved. That MGTOW can actually solve problems for people in the real world, not just for themselves, but for society at large. And the topic I was thinking about was domestic violence. And got started with a video I watched yesterday by Paul Elam, and then I made a response video which I posted on the channel just before this one. And I was just thinking about several things. So here's some of my thoughts, right? So we evolved from animals, right? Humans evolved. I don't think many people doubt that anymore. We have a lot of characteristics in common with animals, and we're not the same as animals exactly, but we do have a lot of things in common, and often those things can teach us a lot about ourselves, right? So that's why they test makeup on animals, because their bodies react similar, and they react mentally also sometimes similar, right? Depending on the issue, right? So I was just thinking, I was watching this kid. I was down at the park, right? And there was this dog, and he was sitting there, just kind of happily chewing on something, and this kid came up, and the kid must have been with the family with the dog or whatever. The kid was there. He knew the dog, and so he started to fuck with the dog. He started to pull his tail, and the parents or the adults were kind of like not paying attention, right? So they weren't looking at him, but he's pulling the dog's tail. I was watching him. So he's pulling the dog's tail, and he kicked sand on he tried to kick sand on the dog. There wasn't much sand, but he tried to kick sand on the dog. I don't know why he was doing that. He seemed bored, right? The kid was bored. It was a boy, and he was bored out of his mind probably, and adults talking bullshit, so he's just sitting there fucking with the dog, right? So he keeps fucking with the dog, fucking with the dog, fucking with the dog. Well, finally the dog growls and bites him, right? It didn't really bite him too bad, just kind of like nipped him on the leg, but just kind of a lesson, like, hey kid, fucking cool it, right? And it wasn't like, let's get some meat out of this kid. It was just kind of like a like a little, and a little snip on him, right? And so the parents, now they turned around, right? So they're watching the dog, and some other people had been watching this situation, so they came over. Thai people were very friendly. They're all kind of like a community, right, sometimes. So they all come over, and all these Thai people were sitting there talking. I don't understand Thai, but I was watching the situation. I understood everything they were saying because it was obvious, right? So they started showing hand movements of pulling on the dog's tail and kicking shit on the dog. And they're pointing at the little boy, right? He's like, no, it wasn't me. I didn't do that. And and they're pointing at the boy like, you riled the dog up, right? You fucking riled the dog up. And so then the parents finally decided it was the kid's fault and blamed it on the kid. I remember when I was a boy, that was always happening to me. Yeah, it was always getting blamed on me. I remember that. But either way, so then it got me thinking about things. Is the dog would not have been violent with him if he wouldn't have fucked with it so much. And the kid, he just was relentless. He just kept fucking with the dog, endlessly doing little things that would fucking piss the dog off, right? Pulling, like if the dog's trying to chew on something, he pulled it away, right? The dog, you couldn't really blame the dog. He was just kind of doing his thing, right? And of course, guys are not the same, but there's no doubt about it that people do rile other people up for their own amusement, right? And I've seen many times where girls will rile guys up just to get attention, or I don't know, just whatever reason, But sometimes they will respond, right? And of course, there's no excuse for violence. I'm not condoning or making any excuse for a guy being violent. If a girl riles him up and keeps fucking with him all day on a boring Saturday or whatever, But definitely it affects it. It's related, right? Definitely it's related. What the kid did was related, and what sometimes girls do to guys is related. But if you combine this with the fact that modern relationships, let's think about modern relationships. They are based on, what are they based on? Really, what are relationships? You got hookups, right, where people have sex and meet each other, right? And then they hang out for a while, have a lot of sex. But then there's a point when it becomes a relationship, right? So that's when the girls take over, right? That's the relationship. So the relationship is basically after the fun is over, you're kind of like staying together, right? So sometimes it's usually, these days it's enforced by a legal contract that causes the guy to lose everything, his friends, his money, and all that, you know, if he doesn't commit to that relationship, right? And so if you take, you know, guys, what were we born to do? Guys, what were we born to do? What did we evolve to do? We evolved to be free. You know, and our DNA is that we want to impregnate, you know, as many women as possible. We want to spread our seed. And now, of course, I don't recommend this. I'm not saying that you should do this, but I'm saying that's the kind of like the way we were. That is the best, ensures the best survival of your DNA, right? Because, you know, there might be an earthquake, there might be a fire, somebody might get sick. But if you have kids with different women who live in different areas, the odds that one of those kids will grow up and you know, into adulthood and have their own kids are higher, right? So that's why guys do that. Now women are different. Obviously, they have few eggs, and they don't try to spread their seed. What they do is they try to, you know, protect the ones they have as much as possible. So they want as much, you know, they want to protect their offspring as much as possible, right? So different motivations, different things, right? But if you look at a modern relationship, what is it really? You know, obviously there are good things about relationships, but they're mainly made for women. They're made for women and offspring. You know, because you're making commitment to somebody for a long time when you'd rather be out there plugging away on some new girls, right? You know, but instead, a commitment or a relationship is basically when you commit to give one girl your time and money and things like that, right? So how could domestic violence, how is it related to this stuff? Or is it related, right? I would say it is related. And it's the same as, let's go back to a dog example, right? If you take a dog and you tie him up, I remember this dog in high school, he was tied up in his warehouse I used to work in. And, you know, if you ever went up to him when he was tied up, he would bark at you and he would snarl and bite, right? But if he wasn't tied up, he would just kind of cruise around. He didn't mind. But if he was tied up and you got him in the corner where his food was, where his bed was, and you went in there, he was going to definitely bite you 100%, right? And because he was territorial and that was his area, and he was tied up and he didn't like being tied up, right? So dogs don't like being tied up. They don't like it. Dogs don't like being chained in. They don't like fences. They don't like being tied up. They like cruising around free. What do men like? What do men like to do? Men are very similar. They like to cruise around. They don't like to be tied up. They don't like to be fucked with. They have their territory, and they consider that, you know, important. And if you come and fuck with their territory, like break into some guy's house, he's probably going to try to shoot you or do something that's not going to be very good for your health, right? Because that's the way the guys are. He's not going to be like, hey, welcome, come in. Here's, grease his asshole up. Have a right on this, you know. Here's my checkbook. You know, here's my bank account, you know. You need the password, no problem, sir. You know, here's my Bitcoin account. You know, no, the guy's going to be, he's going to give you a piece of his mind. He's going to get a chunk of flesh out of you for fucking with him, coming into his territory, right? So relationships are essentially set up for women to guys' detriment. A contract with the state can be nothing else than that. I mean, the guy has to pay. Why does he have to pay? Why not her? Why does he have to pay? And why does he have to stay with her? Relationships are built on the fact that you're with somebody you don't really like anymore, and you have to stay with them. It's just, that's what they are. It's not based on free will. So just like the kid fucked with the dog too long, if you're in a relationship that you don't want to be in, right, which is often, you know, a lot of guys, right, they're in relationships that, you know, honestly, a lot of guys tell me the truth about the relationship. Their fucking marriage is a joke. They don't like them anymore. There's no love anymore. There's no sex anymore. There's no you caring anymore. You know, it's like they're just staying together either for the kids or for money, or like I knew, you know, one couple, they just stayed together for health insurance because his company had health insurance and she couldn't afford health insurance, so she stayed with it for health insurance. That's how low it can get, is that you can stay and ruin your life with somebody just for fucking health insurance, right? You know, so there's these things that we have that tie us into these situations where we don't like it and we're not built for. And then we wonder why people are unhappy. We wonder why sometimes people lash out. And again, it's not excusing anything, but it is explaining a lot of stuff. And if we make changes, we can actually change the outcome, right? So let's talk about that. Let's think about that a bit, right? So what can you do that will release the pressure, that will make it so that guys, I don't condone violence. I've never been violent with a woman. And I was in a violent situation when I was a kid. I don't like it. I'm not into violence at fucking all. But other guys are, and they have to deal with it. So how can we stop violence, regardless of the cause, regardless of whose fault or whatever? Our main goal is not to blame people. It's to stop things from happening. It's to stop violence from occurring. So what can a guy do? What can a MGTOW do that would lower the chance that he would get to the breaking point where he would finally snap and be violent? And when he does do that, often, just as a side note, like Paul said in his video, Paul Elam, he said that she'll use it against him, and she will extract a lot of benefit from that, because a lot of women who stay with guys, the reason why is because when they're violent is because then they can blackmail them, and the guys have to kind of do whatever they want. And that's an unfortunate reality for guys. So really nobody's happy. The tied up dog is not happy, and the guy getting bit by the tied up dog is not happy, right? So how can we change this? So we can't change women. They are doing their own thing, and we don't want to change people. We want to be ourselves and let them be themselves. But what can we do? How can we change ourselves, right? How can we change the situation? So the best thing that you can do as a MGTOW is two things, and one of them is to prepare. So preparation is the number one thing you can do. So knowledge that things don't last forever, relationships don't last forever, and making some decisions that will be beneficial, that keep you liquid, they keep you mobile, they keep you on wheels, are the best things you can do. I've said this before, but the number one, they've gone through people who survived fires, terrorist attacks, airplane crashes, and the one thing they all had in common, it wasn't intelligence, it wasn't bravery, it wasn't skill. It was mainly the same thing. It was the fact that they had prepared. So when they got on the airplane, they actually watched the video about the emergency exits, or if they were in a building, they actually looked for the way to get out. Right? So when the terrorist attack occurred, or when the fire happened, they knew where to go, so they didn't have to think about it too much. They just got the hell out of there very quickly. Right? So that's what you can do, is you can prepare. Right? That's the number one thing. That's the number one thing for getting out of a difficult situation, because then when you're in that difficult situation, your brain isn't really working right. You don't have time to think at that time. But what you do have is you always have some time to get out of the situation, right? And if you have a plan, if you have an escape plan, it's easy. It's easy. So what can you do as a guy, as a MGTOW? One is realize that no relationship lasts forever. Okay, fuck contracts, fuck all this bullshit society's telling you. They don't last, they're gonna end, the feeling is gonna end, her love is gonna end, okay? So don't wait, prepare in advance, okay? Just like an earthquake, you wanna have some food around, you wanna be ready to go. What you do with a relationship is you realize it could end any day, okay? That's the first thing, it could end any fucking day. Her love could end for you, right? That's when you exit, right? And you don't wanna have things like illiquid assets together. So for example, you don't want to start a company with your wife, because then what happens is when it goes, it's difficult. Illiquid assets are difficult to sell. They might be valuable, but they're hard to sell. Like a power plant, like a nuclear power plant. It's worth a lot of money, but it's fucking hard to get rid of. It's an illiquid asset. A liquid asset is something that a drug addict would steal, right? A car stereo. That's a liquid asset, because you can take it to a market and you can sell it right away for something. A laptop is a liquid asset, right? So what you want to do is you want to have liquid assets that you own, nothing that you own together, or anything that you care about. And you want to be able to keep your life as simple as possible. Because if you have too many liquid assets, you're going to get to the point where, even though they're liquid, you just have too many of them. It's just too much of a pain in the ass. It's not going to work, right? So keep your life simple. Simplify your life. And I don't mean like some girl where you're reading some book about being simple. I mean, look at your fucking life, dude. What do you need? What do you use every day? What do you give a fuck about? And everything that you don't give a fuck about, get the fuck rid of. Clothes you haven't worn for 4 months, they go in the shit can. They go to the fucking Salvation Army, right? Anything that you use every day and you love, you keep that. Right? That's your liquid stuff, right? So your phone, your fucking laptop, your cash, your Bitcoin, things like that. Things in your name, like your car is in your name. You know, the house hopefully is in your name, and then that's yours. That's your asset. It's either in your name or it's liquid, so you can pick it up and you can go. So don't intermingle shit. Don't think it's gonna last forever. Don't be an idiot, right? Be ready. Next thing you want to do is when you decide to leave, that's a key time, okay? When it's time to leave, you cannot fuck around. You imagine that a hunter's after you, a sniper, a very, 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 very well-trained special forces team is coming to kill you. They're coming to kidnap you. You have to get the fuck out of there. What do you do in that situation? Do you make a big show of, hey, you know, I'm gonna leave, you know, because this is too hard on me, blah blah blah, you're a bitch? No, it's like total silence. You've got a plan. You've got an exit plan, right? You've got an exit route. You've got liquid assets, either in your name or liquid. You're ready to fucking rock. And so when you go, it's almost like an animal that slinks away, like an animal that's being hunted. He crouches down and he fucking moves and he goes super fast. He gets the fuck out of there, right? No shame. It's the same thing as when your mom told you when you were a kid. She said, you know, you say something like, I got in a fight with Johnny, right? You come home with a black eye. She's like, why did you fight? You know, and then he's like, well, he hit me. He wanted, you know, he started making fun of me. She's like, well, why didn't you leave? And he's thinking, I can't just leave. But he can just leave. He's afraid of being called a pussy, right? And you're afraid of being called a pussy by the girl or by society, or being called, you know, immature or not a real man or whatever. But I can tell you right now, is making this kind of decision, getting out of the situation before it gets hot, is actually doing yourself and doing society a huge fucking favor, because you aren't letting it build up. A lot of guys who get in these violent situations, they don't think it's their fault, right? They're like, hey, what else could I have done? Like that dog that got riled up, right? But the truth is, you have a lot you can do, and you have to see this way in advance. So what you're going to do is you're going to be ready to rock. You're not going to let things push you too far. You're only going to be with people you want to be. You're not going to sign any stupid contracts that cause you to be with somebody you don't like and somebody who doesn't like you. You don't want them to be with you either, right? It works both ways. You know, you're ready to rock, and when you do leave, it's a serious fucking thing. No more fucking around. You don't call anybody, you don't tell anybody. You get your shit and you get the fuck out of there, or you make sure that she gets locked out and you get yourself totally independent, and you maybe go on vacation, get away so she can't call you, turn off your phone. You make sure that it works, because when you got the element of surprise on your side when you make this move. The element of surprise is a big deal. No one's ready for you to do this. Most guys are such pussies, they'll hang around in the worst situations forever while she's trying to rile you up and just piss you off, and it's just going farther and farther, and you're getting more and more unhappy. And then finally you do something, or she does something that just enrages you, and you can get into trouble, right? But the best way, and MGTOW is perfect for this, is because you're ready to go your own way, right? You are always ready. Your house is on wheels, your life's on wheels. You're always prepared. You've thought in advance. You know things don't last. You know relationships are fading. They're temporary. Every love story ends in tragedy. So you're actually doing her a favor by leaving her. Yeah. Because go read a girl's love story. Go read one. Everyone ends in tragedy. And you're doing her a favor by ending it in tragedy. You know? So just leave silent. Don't worry what she thinks. If she catches you running out, let's say you're driving out the back way and you got all your shit in your car and you're leaving her house, and then she sees you, don't feel bad. Just leave. Don't worry about what she's going to say. She might say a ton of shit. She might yell at you, throw a garbage bag at you or something at your car. But when you get out of there, you've avoided all the fights. You've avoided all the bad feelings. You've avoided anything in yourself that could cause trouble. And you got yourself free. And you're free. You're on the road and you're totally fucking free once again. And you've succeeded. And you've avoided the cycle of violence. Because women are just as violent as men. It's in the national statistics. Maybe it's not exactly. It's something like 47 to 53 or something of domestic incidences of men and women. So, but they're very similar, right? So you don't want her to be violent because women use tools. Guys tend to use their fists. Girls tend to use tools, which can be quite dangerous. So you've allowed yourself to be free. I mean, is the dog happy because he's tied up and getting fucked with and bites a kid? Is he does that make the dog? I don't know. We can't ask the dog, but I doubt it. I doubt it makes him happy. I'm sure the dog is much more happier chasing balls and jumping in the beach, right? And that's what you do when you leave. You go have fun. You go enjoy your life. You get out of the situation. Nothing lasts forever. Relationships don't last forever. Don't let society tell you they do. Don't let women tell you they do. It's total bullshit. You're a free man. You want to spread your seed. Never forget what you want, what you need as a guy. Because in the end, okay, in the fucking end, if you're good to yourself, the girls are going to love you. A real man is something that's very rare. And actually, no matter how politically incorrect it is, girls fucking love a real man. They do. And they will love you. When you be more honest with yourself, you're going to be amazed at the reaction you get. You're going to be amazed. There might be some rough spots in the middle while you're learning, while you're kind of growing into it. But once you become somebody who's very honest with himself and does what he wants and knows what he wants and also treats other people with respect, right? That's what you're doing when you're leaving. You're not letting it get too bad. You're not letting her fall to prey to her own bad desires, or you doing it, or you saying things to her. You know, you're getting out. You're gone. You're ignoring society, like telling you that you should stay around. Listen, you know, like, okay, let's do dogs for the final situation, right? Back to the dog. The dog's tied up. Okay, now the dog's in his territory. You come up to him, the dog bites you. Now, this is the way society treats guys right now, and girls. Okay, so the dog is now unwillingly restrained. And some stranger's coming up in his territory and fucking with him. Now, what does the dog do? The dog bites the guy. Now, what does society do? Society does relationships tie guys up when they don't want to be tied up. They only do it because they need the pussy, right? And they'll kind of compromise and make do. But the truth is, this isn't what guys want. Guys want a lot of girls. They want to have fun. They want freedom, right? So they make these compromises, and then society. Okay, so the guy's tied up like a dog. The dog bites, and then they try to give the dog counseling. Does the dog need counseling? Let the dog go in the yard. He's going to be fucking fine. The reason why the dog is all fucked up is because he's not free. He wants to be free. He wants to run and chase balls. He wants to go in the water. He wants to go on the beach. Right? You're very similar. Believe in yourself, okay? If someone puts you in a bad situation, you might do something you regret. You might. It's possible. And she might too. In fact, women, like I said, the statistics on women's violence is just as much as men. We're just talking about men here. We want to solve our problem so that no one can hold us to account because we haven't done anything. And we avoided the whole fucking thing. We outsmarted the whole fucking system. We got the goodies in life. We got the goodies from society. All the good sex, all the good freedom. We made the money. We kept the money. And then we go on our way and have more fun, right? That's what we want. What women do, it's their business. They can go and figure it out themselves, right? So there you go, guys. Have a plan ready to go. When you implement it like a fucking soldier with very serious precision and speed and stealth. And if somebody catches you, sees you, it doesn't matter. Unless they don't restrain you with a net or a gun or something, just get the fuck out. Move, move, move. Don't let anybody stop you. Get out before anything negative happens. And you will do yourself, and you will do her, and you will do society a huge, huge favor. And it's a huge lesson for other guys who allow themselves to be trapped and then blame it on other people when they get into bad situations. Whether it's his own violence, his own negativity, or the girls, right? If you would just get out of a situation you don't want to be in, it would solve everything, okay? So there you go. It's a very simple answer to a very difficult and unwieldy problem that society has. Yeah, this is one solution. I'm not saying it's going to solve everything, everybody, but that's what life is about. It's figuring out one thing at a time, one thing at a time. Somebody else will have another brilliant solution. They'll have another solution to stop this. This is my solution. My solution is that we're often in situations we don't want to be in, and we're being fucked with in ways we don't want to be fucked with, and then we wonder why we act this way, right? One last thing I'll say. There was a study on heart attacks in Germany, and a lot of people poo-poo traffic and stuff, right? What they found is that guys in traffic have an 800% greater chance of having a heart attack in traffic, and they don't really know what the reason is, but they know that's true. So meanwhile, people will tell you, oh, calm down, listen to some music. No, get out of traffic, get a job that doesn't work online. Don't fucking do that. Counseling will not fix this. A new way of thinking about this. Music will not fix it. Fixing the situation is the best fucking way, you guys. Get out of the traffic. Let some other guy have a fucking heart attack, and let him think that he can listen to some fucking music or some bullshit from Deepak Chopra and feel better. And then you are much smarter, and you say, nah, that doesn't work. But screwing some hot girl in a ski chalet does work, instead of driving in that traffic. So I think I'll make some money online, and I'll fucking go have some fucking fun, right? And I won't be having any fucking stress heart attacks, right? So there you go. There is solutions. They're out there, and I love to hear more solutions from you guys. Ronin Man signing up off. Thanks so much for the love you're giving me.